Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now today what we're going to do might just be an unboxing, but we'll see how it goes because it's a bit of a major job, this one. We've just had delivered a new Nottingham Analogue turntable, which is rather large. So even the box is quite sort of worrying. There it is. If you compare to the size of a planer 10 here. That's the box for it, and they're not wrong. It's about 40 kilos. So I need to get. I can't fit it in a workshop, so I'm going to have to try and get it upstairs somehow. So the next part of this video may be from my hospital bed, or it may be from the upstairs demonstration room. First thing I'm going to do is unbox it and have a look at how all the parts sort of fit together and everything. I might do a second video of actually building it and setting it up. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Right, managed it. Starting to realise my age is getting to me a little bit. That was a bit of it's 40 kilos and yeah, a narrow staircase and on your own. Nottingham Analogue turntable. This is the 294. 294 denotes sort of. Basically, it's a deck for 12-inch arms, so it's actually a big turntable. You'll see when I get it out of the box. It's quite interesting. Yeah, it's what you would call a high mass turntable. A high mass. There's two ways of doing it. Riga tend to go low mass. Nottingham have gone completely the other direction with it, really. So it's a case of controlling resonances, and you either sort of take the mass up or take the mass down. Medium mass turntables tend to need suspension to try and, or other means to try and get rid of or control the resonances. So yeah, Nottingham, certainly go high mass. So yeah, so I'll start to unfasten this. Bit of advice: never use a Stanley knife to open a box. But just to, I'm going to use a Stanley knife to open the box because it's probably the best way to do it. But what I tend to do is just tiny little bit of blade showing just at the end there, and just run it round. Remember, ex-colleague of mine from years ago. I don't know if anybody would remember. There's a company called Royd Audio, Royd loudspeakers, and Joe, the owner, came to the shop all excited with a brand new pair of speakers called the Abbots. So that's going back a bit, if you remember those. In prototype packaging, which didn't have any sort of protection around the speakers. It was just the speakers in a cardboard box. And I'll not mention his name, but if he's watching this, he'll know who he is. A colleague of mine excitedly grabbed his Stanley knife and ripped through the top of the box with the Stanley knife to open it. Just as Joe from Roy was telling us how wonderful the veneer was. It didn't really go down very well, to be honest. So yeah, right, we're always going off on a tangent. Right, inside Nottingham, one thing I'd say about them, they don't spend a lot on packaging. It must take them hours to sort of create these things. Because every turntable seems to come with its own version of the packing. So basically, they just use lots of this, all sort of piled up together, and some of it's cut out. So what I tend to find is once you've taken them out of the box, they will never go back in again, because and you can't get the packaging back in the box either. Now this is basically the dust cover. Actually, it's the dust cover on the alignment protractor. So got the line, that's the dust cover. So it's basically like a record. Just stick it on, it stops dust gathering on the mat, and that's the alignment protractor. So we've got it's not going to focus, obviously, gauge on there, and yeah, so that's quite useful because that's for their 12-inch arm. Can't put that back together with one hand, so I'll do it later. Instructions and a tick box as to what's within the box, and just to explain what you've got. This has actually come with what they call a heavy kit, and if you remember the early, I don't know if they know the history of Nottingham, but they used to be called Deus, and the original designer was Tom Fletcher, And the Deus turntable, this is late 70s, early 80s. The Deus turntable was basically known as the Sondek killer, because obviously at the time, when Sondek was the turntable, everybody lusted after a Sondek, and it was the turntable to buy. But the Deus was way better, but it just didn't have the marketing and the sort of the I don't know, the sort of following, really. It was a bit of an unknown, but the Deus was wonderful. I remember having them in the early days, and they were just better than anything. Unfortunately, Tom became ill, and the Deus sort of disappeared. But then he was taken. The company was taken up by his sort of relatives, and they've continued over the years. And it's become Nottingham Analogue, and the principles of that original Deus turntable. I mean, they still do a model called the Deus. Principles of the Deus turntable still hold true, and actually it looks very. They tend to look very similar to the original Deus. Although the original Deus was actually suspended, I think, if I remember rightly. I think it did have a sort of 3-point suspension as well as the mass. But the point I was getting to, the Deus, there was two versions. There was the standard Deus, and there was the Deus Heavy, which had a heavy platter kit on it. Now this is the same. I've ordered this with a heavy platter kit. So this is going to be for our demonstration room. 294. Partly because I've never had one on display before or on demonstration before, but it's our best seller. I mean, I've got the Interspace Junior, I've got a Space Deck. I did have a Hyperspace, which I've sold on now, but the one that always was ordered was the 294 for the 12-inch arm. So I thought probably now we've sold the Hyperspace, probably replace it with this for a while and see how that goes. But it's a wonderful deck. It is wonderful. The unpacking's not particularly going to plan, but what I might have to do is just put the camera down and get some of these bits out. It's starting to need 2 hands now. So, oops. Put you there. See how that goes. Right. So this is basically the baseboard. Nothing actually physically attaches to it. It's literally for the deck to sit on. All Nottinghams have that. They all have a sort of baseboard effect. Apart from the Interspace Junior, which is like more of a conventional turntable, more sort of random packing. Eventually we'll get in there. Should get to it again. Now we've got here. Now we've got the tone arm, and this is the main part of the turntable. We've got 2 now. British made, yeah, actually made in Nottingham. Let's put you back down again. Like I say, I'm probably going to do the setup of this on a separate video, because I think this unboxing might take a while. So, tone arm. There you go. Tone arm, and again in kind of random packaging. Careful to take these bits out. I mean, all the turntables around that time, they could be described, I suppose, as Sondek killers. There was Big Triangle, obviously. Big Triangle PT2 at the time, and later on the Export were a great alternative to the Sondek. I had an Export for a good while, because I did have a tendency to keep breaking. Catastrophically towards the end. I just managed to break the sapphire bearing on it somehow, but I think that's quite common. The other one was the funny thing to mention, the Elite Rock, the Townshend Rock, because that was a similar idea. It was a sort of a high mast turntable, very, very dead structure. In fact, I've got two in here for some reason. So 2 in for service. Elite Rock. There's a slightly dusty looking Elite Rock, and they have the silicon damping trough. So the actual tone arm sits. This one's got a Riga arm on it. It actually sits in a bath of silicon to damp it, so it's fairly high mast. This one's got the optional outer plinth on it, so it sits in the. If you can see that, sits in silicon fluid, which is very effective. Except it does tend to get everywhere because silicon actually does migrate. It'll sort of work its way over and ends up all over the turntable. Now this was in for service. I serviced this about a year ago, so I think. So it's fairly clean. I was saying that the dust has built up since it was in last time. Just didn't have the arm lifter adjusted at the moment. And I've also got one. I've also got one over here. That's just been sitting on the shelf there for a while. Probably needs this has got the very expensive Excalibur arm on it, which has got an issue with the bearings. So I'm just wondering what. Actually, I actually own this one. I'm sort of wondering what to do with it really. But they're wonderful. Yeah, it's a similar era to the Deus really, but yeah, a bit of an icon. Those really. Just happen to have two in the shop at the moment. Anyway, back to the turntable. Back to the Nottingham. Right, we're down to this point now. So we've got this is the arm board, main plinth and bearing. Let's put it to one side again. This is probably the maddest video I've done so far, I think. That's what I can do without injuring myself. Yeah, fairly weighty. So there you go, that's the 3 feet plinth arm board, which is it's got a little silver collar there, is for their own tone arms, but they do. I've fitted Regas to these. I've fitted an SME. Yes, I did fit. Yeah, fitted an SME to one a good while ago. But yeah, they actually do work well with Riga arms. I haven't tried one with an RB3000, but I bet that'd be good. Packaging. Now these, interesting. These I'll show you what you need to watch the setup video to see what happens with these. But these are actually on the original Deus turntable as well. If you can see that, yeah. These, sorry, camera work. Yeah, these were on the original Deus turntable. But I'll need to show you what they do later on because it's hard to describe. And then we've got the drive belt, which is quite a large affair because, as you'll see, it needs to be. So, there we go. A bag of bits. So we've got the oil, Allen key, little pipette there to put the oil in. What else have we got? I think that's it actually. Oh, and a little level for the dough should be quite useful. I've got a couple of Allen keys in fact. If you're wondering why every video I do there's these speakers in the background, partly because it's just it's just a great speaker to have on in the demo room. It works with pretty much anything. So I tend to leave fine audio for how-tos. I tend to just leave them on because anybody who just wanders in off the street, we just chuck a system on and the fines will always work with it. So it's just a good sort of generic speaker to have on in the demo room really. More packaging. Right, and now we're getting to the point of, on the bottom of here we've got the platter, and over the motor, which is, what we notice is, considering the size of this turntable, that's tiny. But that's all part of the design, which again I'll explain as we go. With this platter without serious. Good. Yeah, major. I mean the hyperspace platter is, probably getting on for another couple of inches deeper than this, but this is actually a bigger diameter. It's a really, major. Oh, I keep saying major. It's major. I'm going to put that down because it hurts. Right, and packaging. And the motor pulley. So that's the motor, which is sat on a really heavy base. That's the pulley. Yeah, tiny motor. Not strong enough to actually start the platter itself. You have to give it a push, which sounds very odd, but actually, when you get used to it, I tell people who buy these turntables, or people who are interested in the turntable, when you get used to it, it actually starts to become a bit of a chore to switch your turntable on and. Well, just giving it a push when you want to use it it just becomes second nature, works really well. So I'll put these down here. I think we are almost at the point isn't done, right? Let's try another level. Alright, there you go. Interestingly, can't see the heavy kit. But I'm sure that's fine. There's that. Could be coming separate actually. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, I have a fairly major pile of packing material that will never ever go back in the box. And all the components to make our 294. So give it a couple of days and I'll get that together. I need to make a bit of space around the shop, to be honest, because I've got quite a lot of things in at the moment that I'm sorting out. So our 294 might just have to wait for a day or two for things to calm down. Okay, so yeah, hope you enjoyed this madness. I'll like I say, there'll be a Mark II version of this video soon. If you like what you're seeing, just don't forget to subscribe. Really appreciate all the subscriptions we're getting. Yeah, and to give us a like. See you soon. If you've got any questions, just give us a call. I'll put the phone number at the end. If you want to have a listen to any Nottingham turntables or Riga turntables or any turntables, really, just give us a call. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Right, yeah, I forgot to actually open the tone arm, so just using the old, really shouldn't do this. Edge. Okay. Yeah, this is the A-Space 12-inch arm, sort of middle of the range really. They do a sort of high-end one, which is astonishingly good, really. They don't, I think they'd be the first to say, they don't look much, but they're not really designed to, they're not like an SME or a Breuer or a good looking turn arms kind of thing. They're just designed to sound extremely good. They're sort of almost a sort of unipivot design, or I think they're not actually true unipivot. Again, high-end packaging. I actually quite like the simplicity of the packaging, really. I think it's a bit like, I don't know, all the effort has gone into the product, and packaging is sort of a bit of an inconvenience that they have to sort of, oh well, we've got this foam stuff, we'll use that. And I quite like that. I think it's yeah, packaging can cost a fortune, so it all comes out of the budget for your record player. So there you go. It's actually, yeah, I suppose it's got a nice bit of engineering. It does sort of a carbon fibre-ish. Is it? I'm kind of saying that, and I'm not sure now. Certainly some sort of carbon tube. Possibly not carbon fibre. All nicely machined. Little weight, sliding weight there. Little bias control there. Lift lower, which I think is Riga. I think I'm sure that's a Riga one. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, so I'd forgotten to do the tone arm, obviously. So yeah, there it is. Obviously, I'll be fitting this soon, but this will be in the next video. I'll start to put it together. Looks like we haven't actually had the HD kit for the turntable yet, so I might wait until that comes in as well, because that will be obviously in a separate box. It wouldn't fit it in there, despite having such a massive box. Right, yeah, okay. As I said before, if you like what I'm doing, if you want to subscribe, or give us a like, and I'll see you in a future video when we will actually put this together. Thank you very much.